Surely they're not just ornamental.
Huh?
At some point they've got to get eaten, eh?
Well, they've been there for about 2 weeks.
Oh,
And we were going to have a crack on them before, and they...
disappointing.
Here we are on the Front Row Show. Honoured to be able to have head coach Ian Foster come and join us, mate. Probably the most nervous I've been in the 26 days we've been doing the show. But that's what happens when the boss is on board. How are you feeling?
No, pretty chill. Pretty chill.
We've had harder conversations in our lives. So.
Mate, I remember when you first coached me, 2007 Junior All Blacks, and I remember you made a massive difference for me because you taught me about setting up goals. So I would sort of write 6 or 7 goals, and you'd say, like, limit it down to 2 or 3 real clear ones you can go into the game and always remember. Is that something you still do now?
Yeah, I think I identified and knew that 6 was too complicated for you, and maybe you sat better with 3. But no, it's in all honesty, I reckon to have a target, it's got to be clear, it's got to be defined, and sometimes if you think too broadly about too many things, I reckon it can create a little bit of clutter. So it probably comes from being a pretty simple man. Like, I honestly believe you keep things simple. You look at the 2 or 3 things going to make the biggest difference, and that's where you spend your energy.
Yeah, and that's something I took through my whole career and used that, and I always remember crediting you for that because it made it real clear.
Pretty sure I did one thing right anyway. That's good.
No, you did. There was actually another thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and it was teaching me how to play. You used to carry around this briefcase, and I can't remember exactly what the name of the game is. Do you know the game I'm talking about?
Oh, it's my nuclear weapon code, I tell the boys, but it's backgammon.
Backgammon.
I've still got it in my room.
Do you?
Yes.
And I don't know, I just remember
Disappointed you haven't asked me for a game yet, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's what you used to do, right? You take it around, even on the plane, right, come here, sit down, we're playing. And I was saying that to you too.
Yeah. I remember you taught me how to play it in Gold Coast. I was quite curious, so you invited me to your room and taught me, and it's a pretty awesome game, eh? It's quite strategical and tactical, but now a few of the boys carry it around, eh? Like Bodie and...
Yeah, Bodie and Brody played last week.
Yeah.
It's a bit disappointing, though, because I got a new set since then. First trip I brought along, Rido and Luke Romano borrowed it on the plane. Yeah. And this is before I'd even used it. And when they got off the plane, they were under the seat, so they were looking for a piece, and they lost a piece. So now I've got this brand new set with some really nice pieces and one 50-cent coin, and I call it Luke Romano.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he lost the piece.
That's true.
Hey, FIFA World Cup, Women's World Cup earlier in the year. How proud were you for your daughter to be involved in that?
Yeah, look, it was a great event, wasn't it? I mean, obviously as a dad, I was really proud. Michaela sort of worked hard. Probably didn't expect it at that stage. She'd been over in America for about 4 years, so came back and had a great experience with that team, and you know, didn't get on the field, but she was part of a unit that actually showed a lot of pride for our country, so that was neat.
How were you as a spectator watching the FIFA Women's World Cup?
Pretty good,
yeah.
I reckon. You know, I'm very analytical, and I like to try to learn the game. I realise that I've got a lot to learn, but, you know, looking at that, maybe that Ted Lasso experience of going to another sport and coaching soccer at some point. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon it'd be pretty good. There's a lot of skills you take across with you.
Oh, I reckon he's got to kick the ball in the net. I could always get it underneath the crossbar as a kicker, so it shouldn't be too hard.
Talking about crossbars, you know, Sevu and yourself, you guys have a little drop goal competition every captain's run. How did that all begin or start up?
It started years ago with Ben Smith. And Ben Smith and I used to have a drop kicking competition every captain's run. I was trying to build his confidence because he was very poor technique under pressure with drop kicking, Ben. And so every test week we'd have that. One year it got 7 tests all going into the last one. We had a shootout. The thing was in Rome, and I beat him. Actually, funny, he won't hear this story. And then when he finished, Sevu got selected. And by me to kick, and actually very good goal kicker, but fragile under pressure.
You're pretty mischievous and like you're quite cheeky and like to have a bit of fun with the boys. And I think not everyone always
that's the plan.
Knows that. Is that just a first 5 thing, or?
Oh, look, I like to be myself in the team. It's sometimes on the outside if you come across and you're too flippant and light, it can make it look like you don't care enough. So you sort of protect that image a little bit from the outside. Inside, it's with the team, I like them to see that I want them to know that I'm relaxed and I feel good about where we're at. So I don't. George is smiling at me because he knows, but we've got to have a bit of fun. In the environment, you've got to be genuine, whoever you are and however you want to be. And you both know there's a lot of pressure in this job. And if we all clam up and we carry that pressure too much, then it infects the whole environment. So we've got to make sure we're having fun and being ourselves. And having fun can't be forced. It's just got to be something that comes natural and genuine. So we work hard at that. But for everything I give out, I get plenty back. So trust me, there's a few boys having a crack at me at the moment, but I'll get them.
I love it because I think that actually flows into performance too. You guys run out with a big smile on their face and they play for each other and they play for you and the country, you know, and you get a performance like you did against Sicily off the back of that culture. Yeah,
I think so. We worked hard at it, and you know, we want to get more and more consistent in what we do. So you know, we still need to own up to the fact we've got to perform every weekend. But I don't think you do it by tightening the environment up. You do it by being demanding, but you're also making sure that when it's time for us to be humans and switch on and off, that we do that really, really well. And it's something that we're striving for. And you know, we're in a tournament that we know that big games are tight, tense. We know how big those big games, how people want to play us and try to shut us down. But it doesn't mean we should, you know, so we've got to deal with that. But we've also got to make sure that when we get the opportunity to express ourselves, that we do. And I think what you saw against Italy is, you know, a lot of what we did, we trained, but a lot of what we got out of that game was stuff about guys just feeling free to make some decisions in the moment. And so it's getting that balance.
Rugby World Cups are a bit different from any other kind of series you approach, right? How do you go into this? How is that different for this group?
Different in a whole lot of ways. One of the big way I think is kind of the 18 months leading into it, because everyone talks about it, and so there's the pressure that builds up of expectations, and you've got to deal with all that. And so when you get here, it's like you've been waiting for it for a long time, and then when you're here, it's a long time together, and so how you get that balance, every World Cup's different. You know, Japan was stuck in hotels in big cities. Here we're, you know, we've got a bit of space. I think the guys are enjoying that side of it, and still moving around the country. So you've got that component that you're dealing with. You've got the component that you're a long time without your family, and then all of a sudden the families arrive, you know, and generally Kiwi families and supporters come over near the end of the pool play, so everyone comes in there. So how you integrate that dynamics into your team is pretty important, and something we think a lot about. And then every game's vital. Like, you can't, you know, people want to talk about what's going to happen in the future, but if you get tripped up on the way, then, you know, you look at some teams already who had expectations of being in the quarters aren't. Yeah. And, you know, you look at this game playing Uruguay, everyone at home will be thinking, well, this will be a romp, but, you know, Uruguay lost to France by the same margin that we did, basically. And so every team can get up and bite you if you think too far ahead.
Foz, you mentioned it's been 18 months sort of building to this point, and there's been different challenges on the way. Is it a nice feeling now to be standing in this position, so close to something so great? And we've talked a lot of old and ex-players, and everyone is so on behind this team. I feel like we're really united, and it's almost like verging on one of the greatest ever chapters in All Black history. And you probably don't want to hear that, mate. You probably don't want to hear that. But
it's one of the great stories, isn't it?
Isn't that what an amazing feeling it must be? You're in this position.
Yeah, well, we feel nothing but support inside the camp, and you know, we know that, you know, ever since, you know, you go back to middle of last year, losing the series to Ireland and everything that went on around that, and suddenly we're coming to a World Cup that our fan base and a lot of rugby people are thinking, well, we're not favourites, and that's created a bit of anxiety, hasn't it? And so that anxiety comes out in different ways with media, with fans, with family, with players, and with us. And so, but I reckon I'm incredibly proud about the way that we've prepared the last 12 months. You know, I think there's been a whole lot of dynamics out there. I think we've stayed true to who we are as a team. I think we've owned the pitfalls and things that went wrong, and we're trying hard to work to fix them, you know, and we are in a good space right now. I think the team's desperate. We know that, you know, we're desperate to perform. We want to go and beat Uruguay, and we want to look forward. And look, we feel like we've got the country behind us, and I'm proud of the players, the way they're reacting to that. I think it's hurt them. They're trying to respond well. They're trying to behave the way All Blacks should do, and ultimately we just got to go out and perform and do that with the style that we want to do.
Yeah, and you get to walk towards that, embrace one of the great challenges.
Well, I think you've got to. I mean, it's a World Cup, for goodness sake. It's fantastic, isn't it? You know, this is the big stage, and it's where we want to be. And you put aside anything that's happened beforehand. We're here, and for us, for this team, this is our time.
Are the front rows still annoying you? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, like everything, I get heavily misquoted sometimes, George. And you asked me a question to try to prod me before that French game.
Hey Fozzie, George here from the Front Row Daily Show.
George who, sorry? George Bout.
George Bout. You've named a scrumptious front row. How important our front row is heading into this week?
Really important. You know, they're the most annoying people in the team, the front rowers. They eat the most food, they take the longest to warm up and come out of the shed before they train. But and all joking aside, I think I've mentioned it before, their contribution, you know, we expect a lot out of our props in the modern game. I was really proud of our front row last week. I thought they worked hard at things, and I thought we played smart, like we were powerful, but we made sure we controlled some situations where we probably had too much power, and we were smart with how we used it. And so, you know, they're making steps.
Yes. Fozzie, thank you so much for coming on the Front Row Show. It was awesome to chat and hear genuinely how you're feeling and where the camp's at.
Cool.
All the best for the next few weeks, mate. Or the next week anyway. And we'll take it one step at a time. Yeah. Awesome, brother.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Gio. Good men. You going to give me a ride back to my room?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, good.
I'll drop you off now.